Welcome back to the CinemaSnarks podcast. I'm Larry.
And I'm Leela. Just kidding. I'm Ren.
And today we are going to tell you how we really feel about Hocus Pocus 2 and Werewolf by Night. Not to mention some of our personal favorite picks for Halloween films. So as you can see, Ren is back. She is now a mother, which is a new development since our last episode.
Post baby. Yep. The baby's out. I'm dressed as Leela from Futurama, and the baby has a Nibbler costume. It's pretty adorable.
Perfect, Nibbler. And I'm rocking baddie females of Disney because I thought it fit the Hocus Pocus part of the
Well,
theme at
Disney Plus
least.
is absolutely trying to push all of their villain movies as Halloween
All
movies.
of the
I don't know how I
fierce
feel about
the
that.
fierce ladies of Disney that we all love and
I,
adore.
I think we can get into it. I think maybe the only one I might qualify as a Halloween movie, I might say Maleficent,
The
but
first one.
because she's got horns. But honestly, I don't
Even
really
that.
think
I mean,
fairy tales just
she's a great costume at least. At least Maleficent has like transformed into a
sure.
staple costume. I mean, the other ones do
Sure.
as well to a point, but
I think it stretches a lot to like do movies with good costumes as like Halloween movies. So we'll get into our explanations of what we think qualifies as like a Halloween movie. But we wanted to start with Hocus Pocus, which Hocus Pocus, the original, is one of the top Halloween movies, I think, that has ever been made,
well,
personally.
Disney agrees with you because they make sure you have a million and one chances to watch it in case you just have cable television. And they have plastered it all over their site with this
Mhm.
sequel as well. But the fun fact with Hocus Pocus is that it was not quite a flop, but it did not do very well upon its initial release. People were kind of like, okay, whatever. And it's only due to the reruns on television and the home media sales. It's one of those like cult films that just got
Yeah.
a completely new life once it was released to home
I
video.
gotta say, also, the Bette Midlerness of it sort of lends it to that cult sort of thing. She just has her own following, and
Yeah.
if you care about Bette Midler, you're going to tell everyone to watch this. But yeah, I mean, I think I remember from my childhood just it being on the Disney Channel all the time, and yeah, I did a Hocus Pocus watch party, and we had one of our friends come that had never seen the original Hocus
Oh,
Pocus. We were all living for the whole film. It was incredible. And then we asked him how he felt about it. He was like, it's fine. I was like, yeah, you probably need a little bit of that nostalgia factor
it's
to like
definitely one of those 90s
enjoy it.
films that I think benefits from the nostalgia factor.
Yes.
Also, though, and that's my thing. I don't know. We might not feel the same way at all about this. We have not talked about either project we're going to talk about tonight, so I don't know how Ren feels. But I feel like the same thing applies for both films. Is you also have to kind of know what you're walking into. If you walk into Hocus Pocus, the first film, expecting, this really polished, this like, 2022 visual standard, really intricate script. If you're expecting, what do they call it? Elevated horror type of vibes. You're going to be let down by Hocus Pocus. That is
Right.
not what it is. It is like a camp class. Look, the
Yes.
gays they pay homage to the gays in the sequel. The gays love Hocus Pocus. One for Bette
Bette
Midler.
Midler.
Two, because it's campy females just living on
Yes.
screen, having
Yes.
fun, over the top, ridiculous. And it's
Mm-hmm.
glorious. That amazing dance and song number. I still
Mm-hmm.
argue I Put a Spell on You is one of the best like musical numbers in a non-musical film.
Yeah.
I love it
And you
so
know
much.
what? You can't find it on Spotify, which is infuriating. They did not release it as like a single. It's infuriating. It's easily the best version of that song. There's a
It's
lot of people in the world that would be very upset about that, but they're wrong.
they're wrong. So it was interesting that we've had another kind of resurgence over the past several years, at least. I'd say probably the last decade of really preying on us specifically. Early
I
30s
do feel preyed upon as a millennial.
parents, millennials, like where we now have kids at our age demographic. We're older, we have the money power to buy things, and
Mm-hmm.
we're
Mm-hmm.
we're we're a very nostalgic heavy generation.
Yeah.
We're Funko Pops are like built on us.
It is kind of fun, right? Because most of our lives, everything was geared towards our parents, and it's kind of fun to now be the people that that the money makers want to make money off of.
And
Kind
the
of
way
kind of
they've
neat.
done this, Disney in particular, to varying degrees of success has really leaned into this because they know we're the ones who grew up on their best films. I'm
Yeah.
gonna just say it now. We got their best movies in our childhood, the
Also,
Renaissance era,
let's
period.
be real. Disney has never at any point in its existence been like top tier originality. That's not really their vibe.
Their brand is nostalgia. I like
Their
that's the other
brand is
thing.
nostalgia.
People just kind of I don't know, they get mad at Disney. It's like I don't I feel like they've never really tried to disguise what their brand is. It's all
Mhm.
about your childhood. Their parks are nostalgia. Everything about their brand is about nostalgia.
And that's maybe part of why Hocus Pocus didn't do super well
Yeah.
initially, is that it doesn't have any
Mhm.
nostalgia to draw on. It actually really was a very
Yeah.
original film.
But we've gotten a lot of these long delayed sequels from Zoolander and Dumb and Dumber, getting another film
Oh my
to
God.
everything. Like they have just, what did we just get? Ted, Bill and Ted got another sequel. So there's just been so many sequels aimed directly at this like subset of
Yeah.
people. And now we get Hocus Pocus. We're the group who made this the cult classic that it is, the success that it is. And all of these years later, damn near what, 30 years later almost, they
Yeah.
release the sequel. And they got the original women all back,
Which is
which
an incredible feat.
when I was most concerned they couldn't would have been Sarah Jessica, just because I didn't know this doesn't fit her 2022 brand as much.
No.
But she was back, and I have to say, she looked like she was having a lot of fun. I think she really enjoyed doing this. Um, and I don't know. How do you feel about it, Ren? We have a Hocus Pocus 2 set in 2022.
So I feel like I feel like too much of the budget ended up going into paying for these now very expensive actors instead of into paying for a good screenwriter or good special effects or a good editor or any of the things that would have made this film good at all. I didn't like it at all.
Oh,
You know what? No, I did like the first little section with that little kid Winifred, the little kids who played her sister. That girl killed it.
she was so good. That
That was
young
what that's the
Winifred
best
was
impression of Bette Midler I've ever seen.
amazing. She was
Yeah,
so damn good.
she was incredible.
I also loved, I wish we got more of her. I loved Hannah Waddingham's little like cameo in this movie when she comes down as this like
She's
super
beautiful. Yeah,
fabulous
she's
witch.
incredible.
But then we don't ever see her again. Like they homage her at the very end of the film. But I was like,
Yeah.
we got her
So
in here for that.
So I think my big issue with this film is that what's fun about the original Hocus Pocus is that they are these cartoon fucking villains. Like they are bumbling idiot villains. And that's what makes them fun and makes you root for the good guys and also enjoy watching them be villains. And then in this film, they tried to humanize them, and you can't humanize witches who want to murder children so they can stay young. You can't. That's a ridiculous plot to try and like sell to me. I I
I
would have
don't
rather they just did the same thing all over
I
again.
don't think they tried to humanize them too much until the end. I think the end is where they laid on the humanization when she loses her sister. That was like the sisterly love message. But I thought they did it late enough in the movie. The rest of it, I mean, they're still trying to kill these kids. They're still running around.
I
I don't
also
know,
thought
dumb.
the main characters that they focused on
Yeah,
this
they
time
were.
were not nearly as good or fleshed
That's
out
the main
as.
issue I have.
Yeah, I mean, so in the original Hocus Pocus, you've got Max, who's this like flawed teenager, right? He's a little bit of a shit. He really loves his sister, and he like grows over the course of the film. And same thing with like the little sister. She's kind of an annoying little brat of a sister, but like they have this connection between them, the brother sister thing that you can really identify with and you can follow along with in the story to root for these characters. Whereas like I didn't give a shit about either of these girls. Like they were kind of bitchy, to be honest. They were just mean. And there was like this whole thing with the
And then her
the
boyfriend.
doofy jock boyfriend who he was harmless and they tried to make him out to be some sort of a bully, but he was genuinely like he didn't he did it's hard to like I understand he's a bit of a doofus and that like he wasn't really making fun of them for being weird. Like I didn't really see that. And she also like retaliates and like gets him in trouble and teases him and acts and does like witchy things. And she's antagonizing him. So it's not like I just don't feel like any of that was earned. And also there's a problem with the fact that he was probably one of the most likable characters of all of them, right? The girls themselves weren't likable, but the like doofy white guy jock was actually like really funny, right? Like that was one of the funniest lines was like, sorry I'm late, I had a second breakfast. Like, he's just
I
cute and
just
funny.
I think I'm one of the only people who had some fun with this. I don't know. I thought it was all right. I don't, it's certainly not, again, I went in expecting kind of a schlocky thing, and it's what I got. I mean, there's no getting around. This was a soundstage to the max. Like, it did not feel like a real village. It did not feel like a real place. When they went
Yeah.
into that forest and had that stupid moon backdrop, I was like, oh my.
Yeah, it's especially hard
Oh,
to watch them back to back because the first movie does such a good job of that
yeah.
Salem small town Halloween night setting. And then, like, you literally go from that very cool graveyard with the trees and all the old headstones to this weird graveyard that they used for this film that was just like, you can see like buildings and
Yeah,
stuff in the
no,
background. Like,
it
it just
did
doesn't
not.
have it's clearly not the same graveyard from the original film, but it's
Yeah.
supposed to be.
Also, the weird kid from the original film that grows up to own a magic shop and wants to unleash the
What a
Sanderson
weird,
sisters.
stupid side story.
And that's what brings them back is that he tricks these girls into lighting a candle to revive them. It's such a strange.
I would have okay, so I would have much preferred if it was like literally just an evil witch or an evil black dude even. That would have been fine if he was just evil and he was
Then he
like
regrets it because he's like, they're misunderstood. They're icons. Yes. And like, and then they start
yeah,
trying to
I
kill
think
people. And he's like, oh, my bad. Never mind.
yeah,
Oh, okay.
yeah, it would have been much more fun if you just added a new evil witch to the like a modern witch that's like evil, but like
Yeah.
you could have played with that too. Like that could have been like a like 2022 evil, and
Even,
that's
I
like
mean,
too much for like
honestly,
17th century evil witches.
even that, if you wanted to do an accident, make the girls like they're already experimenting in witchy stuff.
Yeah.
Make them be like, we want to bring them back.
Yeah.
You know, like something. I don't know.
Right.
That it's just
It's supposed to be like, oh, the book just showed me how to make another black thing candle. It's the rendered fat of a hanged man. So like that's not like innocent. Like he had to track down a fucking corpse, render it down. Like that's the thing. The original one was dark. And I think this is something that I saw some other kind of people point out is that like this is where I think Disney really missed the mark on us as a generation is that when we were kids, the Halloween movies, you weren't afraid for them to actually be kind of scary. Like Gremlins is kind of scary. Ernest, Ernest Hollow, what is it? Ernest
yeah,
Goes to Hollow something.
whatever. Yeah.
The Ernest Halloween movie is like scary. And like
Nightmare Before
Hocus
Christmas,
Pocus is like
scary.
scary. They want to murder these children. And it doesn't feel scary at all. It's
I am
just
glad we kind of did
playful.
away with that virginity plot, though. Like more or less, they bring it up, but I'm
That
just
is
like,
one
okay,
of the things in the
get rid
original
of
that
that
really doesn't
virginity
age
plot.
well.
I'm
You
glad we
really
didn't
hammer on.
recreate that.
That was another thing, like rewatching it again as an adult. The original Hocus Pocus is super horny. Like the youngest sister is super horny all the time. Like everybody's hitting on the sisters. There's the whole thing with the like the devil and they really harp on this whole like virgin thing.
Yeah.
She talks about how her brother likes the girl's yabos and like it's very, very horny, and there's no horniness in this new one
No,
at
there's
all, which
none.
I think
There's
is
none.
fine.
Yeah, it's
It's fine
fine.
to cut out the horniness. I
I wish
don't think it's
maybe
fine to cut out the.
SJP's character should have been a little bit more horny. Like
Yeah,
they
I
hint
agree.
just a touch, but they should have done
That was
it.
part of the fundamental thing of it. I also didn't really I didn't really like the like retcon of Bones. What's his name?
Oh
The
yeah, his story.
Yeah, the boyfriend, the
Yeah.
ex-boyfriend that they bring to life, and that like his character is fun because he's scary for the first part. He
Yeah.
is a zombie that they raise from the dead that ends up chasing them around for a while until they figure out that he is actually hates
Yeah.
the witches too. So like bringing him back is kind of like already boring because you know he's not threatening.
Evil. Yeah.
And then there's this whole thing where he was like, I kissed her once. Why? Well, she spoiled my
Yeah.
legacy. She spoiled my good name. And it's like, oh, God, what are we watching? This is not the Crucible, man. Like, calm down. What is like, it just it felt, and it was like, that movie was an hour and a half, and that still felt like a completely extraneous plot line. The whole like, I think they filmed it during the pandemic, and it was also really clear that they filmed it during the
Yeah.
pandemic because everything was so disjointed. Like, they're running around getting all of the like ingredients, and then the sisters are running around trying to find the mayor, which actually I would say that was another highlight of the film was Tony Hale. And he's playing himself, but he's lovable and wonderful and was
Listen,
great
I
in the
was
open.
cheering for him to get that damn apple.
Yes, everybody was all about that apple, but then the whole apple thing kind of fell apart at the end too. It was like, oh, okay, this
Uh,
had no payoff. Bummer.
I think what I thought, look, I came back for the sisters and I thought the sisters were fun. And that's ultimately where I was. Like I said, I think the three actresses had a good time filming this. I think it was pretty apparent they were just there to have fun
Sure.
once more.
I do think
Um,
it's kind of irresponsible for them to film this movie 30 years later and not talk about the fact that these women who are seeking to be young have aged 30 years since the last time we saw them. Like they could have talked about it. They should have talked about it. Like, are
right.
we afraid to offend Bette Midler and point out the fact that she
She,
looks older than she did 30 years ago?
listen,
And because they easily could have been like, it could have been anything. It could have been like, oh no, those years in hell have not been good to us. We really need to get our youth serum back, that sort of thing. I think there was like too much time spent in the Walgreens, right? It was like
well,
those.
the Walgreens plot was very strange. Also
Yeah, it was like it
having
would have been fun, and that was part of what was great about. It's like they understood a little bit about what made the original Hocus Pocus good, but
mhm.
not the right parts. Like they didn't quite like it. I don't know who wrote the script. I don't know who was in charge, but it was not a millennial or somebody who loved Hocus Pocus because they did not put together something that I felt was a reasonable homage to like what made it good. Right? Like
They,
we did a whole thing about
I,
Space Jam, and I
yeah,
liked my nostalgia buttons to be
yeah.
pressed, and so I didn't mind Space Jam.
Right.
Space Jam wasn't a good film in the first place,
Yeah,
and so the sequel knew what it was. It was like we're just going to be a nostalgia like
yeah.
machine. We're just gonna like pull out all these properties that we have that people like. We're gonna like throw them on the screen and people are gonna enjoy them. And that was fine. That was good. I didn't need a whole thing. But I think I expected more from Hocus Pocus, I guess. I think just the fact, based on the fact that they got the original three
Yeah.
actresses, I was expecting better. If it had been not them, if it was like, I would have expected
A typical
Disney
Disney
Channel
sequel.
sequel quality.
The general Disney sequelitis.
Yes, yeah.
No,
But
how'd you feel
that's
about the two musical numbers we got, Ren?
I don't think they were. Again, I think that there is a mistake. They should have known that people would watch the original one and then the new one back to back. And maybe I wouldn't have disliked the second one as much if I hadn't just watched the original. But like having just seen that incredible scene, it just is not as good. And I don't think you
The
need
moment
more.
I
Okay,
loved,
first of all, the first song when they first appear is like, oh no, what are they doing? That was like the first moment that I was like, no.
I did love though when the girl's like, "Who's they performing for?" And she pops up as you, and it just is like, oh,
Daenerys is coming for
the
you.
nurse is mad. She's like, "What is going on here?" But yeah, so I thought that moment was funny. The
Yeah,
second
but
one was
like
okay. It
again,
just
it's like it
it
does.
was an exact copy of the first one and not as good. That was the problem with that, the
Yeah,
actual one.
and there was a lot of them just like doing jokes from the original one again, and like it, the jokes aren't as funny out of the context of the original film. and they were just repeated just to be repeated, and they didn't like find a new home in a better joke, find a new home in a better, in a different plot, in a different
So you
situation.
weren't you didn't like the Sanderson costume contest, Ren,
Not
with
really.
like Ginger Minge up there,
Not
and then
really. And I love me some
and
drag
then
queens.
Bette Midler grabbing that crown, saying nobody likes you,
I
get out of here.
Yeah,
I
it
mean, I
just
lived.
like
Her throwing shit at the judge. I lived, but that's just me.
some people didn't like that. I liked the second song. I was okay with that. It would have been better, I think, if it was that I would have taken as like, oh, homage to the first one.
Yeah.
It's like, I don't know. I felt like it was a lot of badly done homage and like not a well done. It's not well done on its own. Like
Oh.
the plot doesn't work well and sit well on its own. So it's just like a bad vehicle for nostalgia that isn't like it's not good enough, right?
We
I need
need
a
to
little
get
bit more.
we need to get Kathy Najimy a good comedic script again.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like it's been a while for her, because she's so good, and I just need her to get to show off what a great comedic talent she is again. Because she was definitely sidelined in this one. I feel like more than the original, even.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
again, so even with Sarah, like Sarah SJP, she was kind of just there. I mean, they weren't huge parts of, I mean, what Winifred was obviously the main attraction still, but
Yeah, but they
I don't know.
were
They were more.
incredible
Yeah.
sidekicks. Like they were their punchlines were incredible, right?
Yeah.
Like they were a perfect foil
Yeah.
for Bette Midler. Like everything that they said, right? Amuck, amuck, amuck is like legend. And it's so dumb. It's so stupid on its own. Doesn't mean
Yeah.
anything, but
Yeah.
like in that context is so good. Oh, that was another thing I didn't like. So like in the original, there's a little bit of this. I actually realized this upon watching again. They are the Three Stooges. Like that is their
Yeah.
vibe. They're the Three Stooges, and so it's fun to watch them from that like whack to the like there's like
Yeah.
that comedic slapstick that's
Yeah.
really fun. But then in this new one, at one point she slapped her like really hard across the face, and it was like, oh, that's not funny. That one was too hard. Like slapstick has to
She
have
starts beating her
well done. Otherwise, it just goes, oh.
abusing her sister.
Yeah, that was like, oh, that's really like that's too much. Like a hit to the gut where it like knocks out your wind. That's funny. A slap hard across the face for like not really doing anything that bad is like, oh, that's just really like abusive. I'm like,
Yeah.
okay, and then they also it's just like it also didn't have like a good through line, right? So at the very end, sorry to spoil it for everyone, at the very end of Hocus Pocus 2, the whole thing is that she's like, oh, my sisters, I love them so much, and they're everything. I'll give up everything for my sisters. And then at the end of the original Hocus Pocus, for the whole movie, it's very clear that Winifred hates her fucking sisters. She says multiple times, you are my curse. And at the end, that's one of the whole points of the dynamic of like Max and his sister versus Winifred and hers. At the end, she says, you are a fool to sacrifice thyself for thy sister. What? Like, unless we were going to like go back, right? It would have been so much better if we at least had like it would have been fun to have Thora Birch there or Zach or any of the
Yeah.
kids like grown up. So it just didn't it really just the characters themselves didn't feel consistent to me at all, and like that's one of the things that is the biggest bummer about it is that I think that movie I might have cared less about the like very poorly written plot line and the like kind of lame main characters, human characters that I didn't care about. That like I don't even know what they did the whole movie. If you ask me right now, I don't know what they did.
She became a witch.
So dumb. In this universe, the witches are evil. In this universe, the witches are
Well, they're
evil, and I
reclaiming
don't
it,
need you
Ren.
to retcon that
Like she
for me.
says, like the little girl tells the guy, "Oh yeah, I'm sure that's just another old myth to keep powerful women down, or whatever the hell." She gives it like a throwaway line to him about virgins. And she's like, that was just another bullshit line to keep women
Listen,
in line.
I'm a very witchy person. I'm all about it. I'll cast a spell here and there. I'm for it. Not in this universe. They're evil witches. They choose evil. The book is evil. The book in the original book, they
Book
literally
is
say in the
also
original
humanized
movie,
here.
the book was a gift from Satan himself to her, right? There's a whole thing in the original movie where she shows up at a guy who she thinks is Satan's house, and she's like, Master Satan, right? Like, this is a woman who has sold her soul to the devil. She's made the
And they
choice.
retcon that too, because it's a witch. It's the witch in this film, Hannah Waddingham, who hands
Yes.
over the book.
And I am not okay with the nostalgia machines retconning the superior original property that they are trying to milk for money.
Can we talk about it? So we talked a little bit about My Shirt, and how they're trying to really push that. But that's the problem, is that they're really focusing right now. Disney at large has a big problem. One, with their live action remakes at large, kind of all being highly inferior to the animated films in which they're recreating. But two, they're doing a lot of villain stories. They're really trying to do this whole female villain specifically. They don't delve into the male villains because they're not as good in Disney. The female villains are where it's at. We all know this. But
I think you could actually get a pretty sick Scar film.
I mean,
going.
of course, but not live action. Go back to anime. I don't want to see that. I mean, I will. I don't. I guess Scar's not gonna be in it, but we're getting a sequel to that, right, Ren? We're getting a Lion King too.
The live action one.
The live action.
Why did they need this? I guess they really
made $1.6 billion. It made a ton of money. Unfortunately,
God. I mean, yeah, you can't stop them. Listen, if you all would just stop going to see bad movies, we wouldn't have as many bad movies. But
yeah, so Maleficent, Cruella, Hocus Pocus 2, a big problem is the humanization of these characters. Maleficent is an evil witch. She is the manifestation of evil. And so when you make a movie focused on Maleficent, and you turn her into Aurora's fairy godmother, who actually starts looking after her and protecting her, we're no longer talking about Maleficent like this is a new character. It's a completely different character than what we saw. Same thing. I mean, it was an origin, so they might change it. Fabulous costumes and all. When you have Cruella de Vil, and you make her likable, and she has these dogs running around her, and she has a dog herself.
Right? She wanted to murder puppies. Let's be clear.
And her goal was
like, give me general Dalmatians. I want their fur. She was like, no, I need the soft fur from the puppies.
Yeah, when she sees little puppies and is like, fashion.
There are 100 of them because she needs 100 puppies to kill
make her
coat.
And you start humanizing this puppy killer woman. It's like, okay, the movie was fine. I actually don't dislike Cruella.
Yeah, I liked Cruella as its own film.
When you disconnect it from 101 Dalmatians. And that's their problem, is like they keep trying to, like, we want to be a little bit darker because the Disney goes dark, but they're afraid to go dark. Like, they're afraid to actually do it. And so we're left with these like really watered down versions.
And actually one of the only ones that I think you could legitimately create like a good villain story around is Ursula, because Ursula doesn't actually kill anyone. That's not her game. She's just looking for power. And so her story, you actually could pretty easily sort of tell it from her side and make her seem like she's not the villain.
And the king is an ass.
And the king is a fucking asshole in the movie.
Very easily be turned into the villain of her film. Like it's not it's literally there in the original film. He's borderline the villain of the Little Mermaid itself. So
it's just, I don't think that there are, it's the difference between the olden days when people would write a script and then they'd bring it around and they'd hand it around and be like, I wrote this story. Listen, it's a good fucking story and we should make it into a movie. Now it's, we want to make a story about this thing. You now write it, right? Like,
and the thing is, I think Disney, maybe they listen to too many of those college courses, because there's been so many college courses about Disney and feminism and Disney and this and that. And I think maybe these writers that are now working at Disney took one too many of those classes, because they're really ashamed of the films that they're paying homage to. They're really ashamed of these
Yeah.
characters that they're supposed to be recreating. So instead of like finding the positives in those characters, they like insult them even in the
Right
marketing.
them.
They're like, oh, Cinderella please, she had no redeeming qualities, we need to make her a feminist icon. It's like Cinderella had a lot of redeeming qualities as a person in that old film, so you
Yeah.
just need to maybe tweak a thing. Snow White as well, a lot of great qualities as a human. You just tweak one or two small things and you're good. Like, I don't understand. We'll see what they do with Ariel, because that's a character you could tweak a lot, in my opinion, because I think she's a little brat.
She's
But
probably one of the worst of the princesses.
also
I mean,
Ursula
the
in
other
her
ones are
own
just
film,
like,
you could just make her dumb. Be like, what did I do wrong? She's the idiot who signed the contract. Like,
but anyway, sorry, we've fallen off
sorry,
of the track
we
of our
have.
Halloween Hocus Pocus
Hi.
conversation.
But
The
this
point is
film did it
that
too. Even to
they,
Book. Even Book was made to be the good guy. He was like a foil
yes,
to the Sandersons doing evil.
yes,
Was Book from the devil?
which is, I'm pretty sure that the front of the book is supposed to be like human skin. That's another thing. Like,
Yeah.
it was dark. The original one was dark and scary. And like, I think that's what I think is a problem, is that one of the things that our generation really enjoys is a level of darkness, right? Like the things that we love are like the labyrinth, which is super dark, right? Like all of these properties that we're all a little crazy about.
We loved being
Rocky, dark,
traumatized.
right? Like
We loved it. We lived for it. It's probably why we all are in therapy. Because as
I
children, we
think
loved being traumatized.
we weren't traumatized. I think before we had therapy, it was one of the things that helped us like understand the world is not always
Really.
perfectly wonderful and beautiful, that sometimes there are villains and there's just evil people out there. I think that's the thing to kind of like, that maybe Disney is starting to miss, is that like sometimes
And,
your villains can just be evil.
and
There's
sometimes
nothing
you
wrong with a
find
just
yourself
evil villain. They're fun. That's what was fun
relating
about
to
the
those
Sanderson
evil
sisters.
villains.
They're just evil. They're just fun and evil. They don't need a redeeming quality. And that would have made, I think, if they had embraced that they're just fun and evil and rolled with it, it would have been a better film. I don't know. And there was a lot of problems with it. I don't know. The plot was like lame and long, and the characters didn't develop and weren't friendly. And
I had a
they
lot
don't,
more
they
fun
didn't,
on this one than Ren did, but
just like, well, like, what is it? What is the personality of the main girl? She's just like grumpy goth chick. She's like doesn't have much of a like identity. And the whole thing with her friend, like it turns out that they're both kind of assholes, right? Like she's like, no, I'm not gonna invite her to come to do our annual birthday thing. Like she basically, instead of having a
it's just
conversation like an
teen
adult,
drama.
or like,
It's
I
just
don't know,
teenage high school bull crap.
I
I guess I
guess,
didn't care
I
because
don't
I feel
know.
like they do that kind of crap in high school. Like one person gets a little boyfriend and they do start ignoring their friends. So then the other friends start being like, nah, we don't want to talk to them. And then you're
Sure,
like,
I
okay, well,
guess, but like, I
it's what
don't
happens
know.
in high school, Ren. Not a 33, 34-year-old woman with a baby. Come on.
Well, maybe okay. And you know, I think this is probably the big point of like where they missed. If it was supposed to be a nostalgia movie that was
It
targeting
needed.
us, they should have targeted us.
We should have just
Instead,
brought
it's
Max
clearly targeting
and
their like
Danny
preteen
back.
demographic, which doesn't make sense to me.
I know that the actors were available. I know Thora Birch was like, "Yeah, I was kind of sad I didn't get a call."
Yeah,
Why? Why?
yeah,
If you're
why
gonna do a
not?
nostalgia piece, go full out and bring back the leads too. At least make it their kids or something. Like I don't know.
Yeah,
Uh,
yes, that would have been fun. That would
would
have
have
made
been,
a lot of sense.
but so Disney Plus. So if
Right?
you're
What? Who else would they want to murder more than the children of the children that killed
yes,
them?
so that way, yeah, have an evil witchy girl, bring them back because
Yep.
maybe she hates those kids over there and she, for some reason, or, whatever. But yeah, it would make
There's
more sense
plenty
than
for
random
modern
magic.
teenagers to fear in evil, bitter, angry classmates of theirs. There's plenty of terror inside the hearts of some teenagers here in 2022.
Yes,
We
always.
don't need to avoid it completely.
Well, then, to coincide a little bit later, Marvel would not be outdone and also decided to release a Halloween special, the first of its kind from Marvel Studios, Werewolf by Night, a MCU special presentation that went straight to Disney Plus. It was like a 50-minute special on Disney Plus, starring our beloved here on the podcast, Gal Garcia Bernal.
I love him.
we are we were sad watching Old because we love him so much and we hated everything in there. So
but I love Gael Garcia Bernal forever.
Yeah, no fault to you. I don't blame you. You could do no
he
wrong.
Could probably do a lot of terrible movies I'll still watch because he's so damn adorable.
So he gets his shot at Marvel. He's joining, the likes of Oscar Isaac and Diego Luna in the Marvel, the Star Wars universe. So we're getting all of our main guys here, all of our Latino kings over here under the Disney umbrella now. This is a property I had no idea about. I didn't know anything about these characters in the Marvel Cinematic Universe at all. So I went in pretty much blind, other than it was him and it was a werewolf story.
Yeah, Patrick actually actively reads Marvel comics, and he also had never heard of this. So it's a fairly obscure piece of Marvel story.
Yeah. Well, I have to say I loved this. So
I loved it.
Oh, okay, yay! We're good. We're on the same page this time around. Now, this is a great piece of just like homage filmmaking. It's a direct homage to the old Universal monster movie,
black and white.
Yeah. Oh God, what's her name? The woman who plays the stepmom, just camping it to the max. Was everything. She was everything to me. She's an actress that I know her face, but it's Harriet Sampson Harris.
Yeah, she often plays a off kilter older woman.
She was so good.
That role.
The close-ups they do on her face, she's doing these dramatic things. They're great.
The whole thing was
so good.
Yeah.
How do you feel about Michael Giacchino, the composer, kind of making his directorial debut, the musical composer?
I loved it. I thought the music was incredible. I'm the sound designer nerd, and I just enjoyed the whole thing. I love the the phonograph in the maze. I loved just the little bits of music that came and went. Now that you told me it's a composer who directed it, it makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, no, he definitely had a little bit of an emphasis, and I thought the cinematography was really well done too, because there's always a thing with black and white. It can go wrong. You think it's easy, but to actually film something that looks like it has this much depth is more difficult, I think, than a lot of people imagine, to get the black and white photography to actually look good. And this being so stylized, I love when we had the little spots in the film, in the corners, the black spots. I lived.
Yep. The little change the reel. Yeah.
Yes, I thought the cinematography was fantastic. The visuals were just campy enough. Can I tell you how happy I am that they went practical effects on the werewolf? Marvel gets so red for doing, suits.
A good werewolf.
Yeah, they make these suits, and I think we all were a little nervous that they were going to go full CGI for the werewolf, because they usually do for those things. No, they went for a makeup, and it looked so cool.
And it did. It looked really good. I think it's one of the best versions of a werewolf. I just watched an American Werewolf in London, and I think American Werewolf in London is just a little dated, right? It's just older.
The transformations are still cool in that one though,
that's legend right there. Yeah. But I think this was one of the best werewolves I've ever seen.
And they get around it in such a cool way. They're okay, we're not going to show his transformation per se, but I love what they did. They zoom in on her as she's watching his transformation, and you see the shadow behind her. It was such an amazing shot. I was I also loved his friend Bob. Was it Bob?
Yes, I think so. Was it?
It was just a really mundane name.
Ted.
It was Ted. It was Ted. Thank you. I loved Ted.
You love. I know. That's you and I know. All right. I wrote the Van Helsing's Daughters play, so I love the perspective of the supernatural creatures are creatures too, right? I love the animal rights sort of view of supernatural creatures of let's not stick them in a maze and torture
Yeah,
them, huh? Like
for
they're
no
humans
reason.
too. Well, they're not humans, but they feel pain and
Well,
they
and especially a human who turns into a monster once a month.
yeah,
We're gonna force him to be a monster so we can kill him. Like, oh, okay,
yes.
well.
Yeah.
I loved Elsa Bloodstone as well
Yes.
as our daughter character. I thought she
Yep.
was a lot of fun, a nice sassy badass.
Yeah, she was on The Nevers.
Okay.
Um which was a very short-lived HBO show. It was sabotaged by being. It was helmed. The showrunner was Joss Whedon, and then Joss Whedon got canceled, so he got kicked off of the show, and that kind of threw a wrench in the gears of the show, and the show went off the rails and did not get a new season.
Okay.
But she was pretty fantastic in that show, and so
Okay.
I'm glad to see her kind of like she's got a pretty nice little vibe as like a badass, almost like Buffy the Vampire Slayer type
Yeah.
character. Yeah, she's pretty killer. I can dig her. I'm
They
glad
kept
she got a
the Marvel woman fighting choreography. Like when she does that
yeah.
leap onto that guy and like uses her legs to
They
pull him
love it
down.
when women put their legs around a man's head and bring him to the ground.
Like that's like the Marvel woman move right there. But I thought she was a lot of fun. I mean, I kind of want them. I don't know how many more like legitimate horror stories they have, but I think this would be like a fun tradition for Marvel. Like
Yeah,
to
the
just give us,
Halloween one.
because
Yeah.
part of me is like, I would love to see these characters again, but also part of me is like, I don't want them really integrated into like the main Marvel universe and get muddled into all that.
I know,
Like,
but then we get more Gael Garcia
it's
Bernal, who
true.
was just so goddamn adorable.
Oh my God. But meanwhile, I do love, so he's like an adorable Ted is like this adorable weird design one. I was like, what is this design? It is like an elephant seal in the face, but
Yeah, he's almost like an ent
it
a
was
little
great. Yeah,
bit.
like an ant. But
Yeah.
his power was scary as F. Like he just disintegrated.
Yeah.
So when I saw his power, I was like, I see why we would be scared. His power is vicious. But he's just so cute. That I love him and his eyes, his sweet eyes.
Sorry. Also, can we talk really quick about the very weird, very incredible choice to make the corpse of the dad animatronic? That was
Oh
so
my God.
good.
I hollered when she opened that damn casket and he's like
I've
talking and
never
she's
seen anything like that in my entire life. I've never seen that kind of a choice.
I mean
And
it was
okay,
wild.
I'm like, okay, but let's talk a little bit about this like Halloween movie thing. That to me is like fucking Halloween movie.
Yeah.
Like I want a little bit of weird and just campiness
Yeah.
in my Halloween movies. I need like some fun, and that was fun. That was a very fun, ridiculous, shocking choice.
Yeah, this is like a great version of a Halloween special or a Halloween film because it does.
Mm-hmm.
It has a lot of camp, obviously. They're really
Mm-hmm.
playing up the camp factor,
Mm-hmm.
but it's still so well executed. The script is really well done. It's really well acted. Everybody, that's the thing. That's part of getting a balance like this. Part of it is everyone has to know what kind of project we're here to make. And
Mm-hmm.
everybody fully understood. They were on board. They knew the project we were here to make and they all executed what they were brought to do.
Yeah.
And it just
Clear
worked.
vision.
Yeah, it was a
Yeah.
clear vision.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's a lot of people's problem with Marvel recently is a lot of the movies have not had such a clear vision and
Yeah.
they've suffered a little
The
bit for it.
series haven't had clear
Well, the
vision.
series
Yeah.
definitely have not had a
And
clear vision.
and at least with this one, I mean, it doesn't do anything to further. That's another complaint is that like it doesn't seem like this round of Marvel
Yeah,
movies is going anywhere like together.
yeah,
And it doesn't seem like this one is either. But I think that's one of the things that I like about this round of Marvel movies
me
is
too.
that they can do stuff like Werewolf by Night because they don't have to fit it in with everything else. They can just go
Yeah,
do a thing because it's a neat property and it'd be fun and people want to see it. Well, I wanted to see it.
yeah. That's like that's why I was saying like maybe I don't want them in the full universe. Maybe I'd like to just see them come back next year for a second special. You know what I mean? Like, so I
Yeah.
get more of these characters, I get more of Guile because I don't know. It's just so refreshing in this day and age. We don't get this anymore, because everything's a shared universe in these films and in these TV shows. It's just fun to get a one-off film that can be its own distinct style without everyone like panicking, because every time one of
Mm-hmm.
the films tries to be its own distinct style, everyone's losing their mind because it doesn't fit
Mm-hmm.
the Marvel mold to a T anymore. And
Mm-hmm.
this, we can just kind of celebrate it for being
Mm-hmm.
what it is. And
And it wasn't 2.5 hours long. They did a whole story,
no,
top to bottom, super enjoyable. 50 minutes.
so good.
I
And
like that.
I love it. I love that they premiered it at the beginning of October, a Disney
Yes.
Plus release. Yeah, this is one of honestly, again, you and I have talked about it because we've enjoyed a lot of these Marvel properties in the Phase 4 more than a lot of other people have, because we're not. I don't know. We seem to just kind of view them differently. I don't know what's going
Mm-hmm.
on. We're not so obsessed with like what's it leading to? What's it leading
Yeah.
to?
Yeah.
But this
I think
still was
for
like,
me, it was already had this superhero fatigue. So,
yeah.
like, I don't need, I would rather see something that's like a new and interesting film
Yeah. And even if
than.
it misses, I mean, that's been part of my thing is I can feel directors directing these movies. So even
Mm-hmm.
if they don't knock it out of the park completely, they're not a complete home run. I don't know. I've enjoyed getting variety with Marvel recently
Mm-hmm.
rather than the, Black Widow version
Yeah.
7.0,
And
like
Werewolf
Black
by
that's
Night was
was
directed.
one of the most unique and
Yeah.
fun things
Give
in
that
all of
guy more
Marvel.
money. I want to see more movies from him.
Yes, thank you. And now we
Give
know
more
he
sound
can.
designers money to make films.
And now we know he's not only a great music composer, he's also can direct. So I'm ready to see more from you, Giacchino.
Yes,
Now,
please.
so it sounds like for sure Werewolf by Night might be coming into like a nice little rotation of watch. Hocus
Mm-hmm.
Pocus 2, not so
No.
much.
I would like to delete it from my brain. Thank you.
It's not going to be a double feature next year. It's just going to be a
No,
one and
which is
done.
a bummer, man. I would have loved for that to be like a double feature thing, but I would rather
Alas.
watch Ghostbusters 2 than Hocus Pocus 2. And Ghostbusters 2
Yeah.
is not very good.
No. I mean, people can fight me all they want, but I still think the 2016 one is number 2 on my rankings. Oop. But anyway,
I
yes,
kind
even
of
over
liked the new
Afterlife.
one with
People
the
loved it.
afterlife.
Yeah, people
I thought
loved
that was cute.
Afterlife.
I actually thought that one was better in terms of that nostalgia
Yeah,
factor, like
no,
what
it
I'm
hit the
looking for.
nostalgia buttons.
Yeah, it hits the nostalgia buttons. I did it like, that was the thing with the Hocus Pocus. Just one more thing is some movies have done a really good job of being remakes, but they're close enough to the original. I can tell they're just pressing my nostalgia buttons, but they
Yeah.
do it in a way that is good and enjoyable, and I'm okay with it. Whereas this Hocus Pocus, they just failed at it, and sometimes they fail at the nostalgia button pushing.
Yeah,
Sometimes
that's
it's
true.
too much focus on pushing the buttons and not enough focus on like the rest of it and where it all needs to kind of like get loosely tied together in something coherent and enjoyable.
Yeah.
Anyways,
Well, you mentioned
um,
Ghostbusters. I think that is a good segue into the
yes,
segment Halloween films. So
yes,
this time of year, it does kind of come up. People don't know what to do. Is it just like you have horror fans who are, this time of year they're all about horror and they don't really care about Halloween films per se. They
yeah,
want just the
yeah.
horror. Other people
So
don't want just horror. They want
yeah,
to get into the atmosphere, the
yeah.
vibe of Halloween. And not every
So
horror film does that.
yeah, so I think for me, like one of the biggest sort of like, it's not a requirement, but one of the biggest thing that makes a Halloween film is it takes place on Halloween. That tends to like kind of edge it directly into Halloween film territory. There are certain movies that I love and cherish as a Halloween film that I watch every year and are not don't take place on Halloween. So I think it's kind of a loose thing, but I think it definitely helps. And yeah, I just think horror movies are for all year round. There's certain movies that are like clearly for Halloween, and I sit and watch them all day.
So I
Also,
mean,
I now
from
have a
oh,
child
cool.
who is just kind of, in the room, and so I like to have Halloween movies playing in the background while I'm working on my costume or working on like making decorations and stuff like that. It's, I like to feel festive. And I don't feel comfortable with horror movies playing in the background because my baby isn't really watching it. But I don't feel like the sound of like screaming and terror is like not great for her little tiny psyche. So I'm really trying to find those movies that are a little bit lighter, that aren't like terrifying levels of like gore and things like that. So that's kind of my like criteria for like a Halloween movie. I think they need to be a little more fun, right? Like, so my theater company does a Halloween show every year. And
Audacious
I had
theater.
somebody write a review, and they kind of mentioned that we had that one of the elements kind of didn't lend itself to our horror show. And I was like, it's not a horror show. We don't really do horror shows. We do Halloween shows.
Yeah.
And I think there's a difference. I don't want people, if people want to go at Halloween to a live event and be terrified, they'll go to a haunted house. Like that's the place you want to go if you want to get like scared. I am not trying to terrify people. I am trying to entertain them with something lightly spooky, a little bit jarring, and mostly like Halloween fun. That's what I'm seeking and trying to provide.
Well, that's
So,
not to
anyways,
say horror films don't also qualify. I mean, obviously, a Halloween staple is in fact Halloween from
yeah,
1978.
yeah, yeah.
That's a horror film, takes place on Halloween. Literally, it's
Yes.
called it, so it's
The
hard.
first time I watched Halloween
Yeah,
was on Halloween at a Halloween
perfect.
party
Have
with
you
my
seen Trick or
preteen
Treat,
friend.
Ren?
Huh?
Have you seen Trick or Treat?
I haven't.
Okay, it's another good Halloween horror
I
film, straight up
know.
Halloween. But
I know.
what we've talked about Hocus Pocus. Obviously, it's something we both
Yep.
grew up on. It's a Halloween staple, Halloween classic. Another one for me, I know people argue because it could fall into two different seasons, and I'm just like, I'll watch it on both seasons then. How about that?
Nightmare
Nightmare
Before
Before
Christmas.
Christmas.
So
Yeah.
I watch it at Thanksgiving. That's the rule because it fits perfectly between the two holidays. That's my
And it starts on Halloween. So literally it starts Halloween Day and then
yes.
transitions to the time
Yes.
of Christmas over Thanksgiving. I mean,
Yes.
they're working. They're working
Yep.
towards Christmas. But it just gives off the perfect vibes for the holiday for me. So I'm just like, you know what, I'll just watch it twice a year. Who cares?
So
Um
I actually Paranorman, is if we're on like stop motions, Paranorman is like an every single year one for me. There's not a lot of more modern Halloween movies
yeah.
that I like want to watch on a regular basis every year, but Paranorman absolutely is a Halloween movie that I've bought and watch every year without fail. And like even Patrick like wants to sit and watch it with me. It's just delightful. The visuals are incredible. The story is amazing. It's Leica. We've talked about how much I love Leica on the as does Larry. They're an
Yes.
incredible filmmaking team, and Paranorman is just, if you've never seen Paranorman, I highly, highly recommend it. It should become a favorite of yours because it's incredible.
No, it's amazing. I love
Yeah.
Paranorman, and it's another great Halloween itself type
Yeah.
of film. Because, I mean, you could argue. I guess that's where it gets like that's where horror gets tricky, and then even like gothic or dark stuff.
Mm-hmm.
You can argue with Halloween, but you can also be like, I want to throw Coraline on in April.
Mm-hmm.
And you're still just as justified. Or if you want to argue it's a good time for Halloween film, sure. I mean, I'm not going to argue against it either. Um,
Yeah, there's certain movies that I just like don't watch that are like they're hollow. They save them for Halloween. Like I
yeah.
don't watch them outside of the Halloween. And so like Paranormal, and that's one of the things. Like if it takes place at Halloween, it's a thing I'm probably going to save to watch for Halloween season because I start officially I start October 1st, but let's be real, I start like the last 2 weeks of September, just like
Okay.
rolling through. So
Well,
I have a lot of days of the week, of the month and a half that I basically spend watching a Halloween movie or two every day. Um, okay, so outside, there's a lot of animated ones that I love, like just in general, right? Like I think Coraline, but Paranorman has a very Halloweeny feel to
yeah.
it. I also love, and it's one of the ones I watch every year is Elvira, Mistress of the Dark. because that is what I want. I want that camp. I want that like funness. I love Elvira. She's the queen of Halloween, and the other Elvira movies are not very good, but the first one is great.
Look, she has made so much bank off of just, she's made a lifetime of living off of that one film. She didn't even
Yeah.
have to make any of the sequels. And it was
No.
an iconic figure in pop culture forever.
Yep.
I'm like, part of me thinks, I'm like, what do I watch every year? All of other than like the few staples we've already mentioned.
Ghostbusters is
I was gonna
definitely
say
one.
Ghostbusters is another there, and that one, it can be a little bit scary, I think, maybe for smaller kids, but it's a lot of fun.
Yeah.
It's mostly just kind of
Yeah.
fun. It's a
It's that
comedy.
our generation and like well that's really Gen X, but like
Yeah.
it's that scary used to be okay for kids.
Yeah.
There was like a line, and I think it was before we had the PG-13 rating, where that like things kind of sat in this weird PG land where it was like, yeah, it's fine. They're
Yeah.
not like dismembering anyone, so it's probably fine.
And then we have, I mean, even like Beetlejuice, maybe we
Oh,
could throw
Beetlejuice
in
classic. Yeah,
there.
I watch Beetlejuice every year for sure.
The great Halloween atmosphere for sure. See those
Yes.
80s, those couple 80s that they got you. At
Yeah,
least two
I
of them.
mean, Beetlejuice is my like Halloween decoration aesthetic. Like my whole house is like lime green and purple, and that's like what I do for Halloween.
Slashers are like a Halloweenish staple for me in general, but Friday the 13th is like one that is not because it really could be a summer movie. I mean, they're literally at summer camp. It's
Mm-hmm.
not really Halloween, but ones for me like Nightmare on Elm Street for whatever reason is fun Halloween stuff as is Scream for me. Like those are the other two slashers with Halloween that I'm just like, I don't know. They seem fun. We're having a party and Scream, and people just run around killing each other.
Yeah,
It's
I'm
in the
definitely not
fall.
like opposed to the slasher. I think it was like it was so it wasn't last year, it was like 2 years ago. So when I was writing Murder at the Drive-In, I really wanted to like pay homage to those like 80s
Yeah.
horror movies. And I had like, after talking to you, I realized I had a really big blind spot on a lot of these like classic horror movies. So I spent a good chunk of of October in like 2020 and like 2021, like going through those old classic
Yeah.
ones. But I think at my core, my heart, just loves the like more campy Halloweeny ones.
Ren, I feel like the answer is still no. You're the biggest Jack Black fan I know.
Yes.
You still have not watched Goosebumps, have you?
No, I have.
Oh,
I
you
did. I
have.
did see. I mean,
Okay.
it's not any good. I wouldn't watch it more than the one time.
You didn't even have fun with that little first one.
It was fine. It was fun. There's a lot of Halloween movies to watch, all right, and like I'm not even
It's
gonna
true.
get to all of the ones that I love. So like,
Do you watch?
there's got to be a little bit
Did you
of
go
a
like classic? Right? Did you go like Charlie Brown and the Pumpkin Patch?
So I would watch Charlie Brown and the Pumpkin Patch if it wasn't exclusively only on Apple TV right now,
Oh, I
which I
didn't
don't
even know
have a
that.
subscription to.
Well then.
I mean like yeah, that I mean I love that kind of stuff. No, I did watch that Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark for the first time this
Okay.
year.
Did you like that one?
It's fine. I don't
I
know.
thought the
I
character
think
designs were awesome. The
yes,
rest,
and
eh.
I think that was what sad to me is what's I wanted more character design. I think I missed a lot of what made those books like terrifying and the stories that were really scary for me. They didn't really
Like that white
include
woman though was like, "Whoo, okay, she is scurry."
the one in the
The blob,
red
like the
the
blob, yeah, with the
yeah,
red,
that
like
woman is
I was like,
scary.
okay, that one was creepy. It just they didn't create a good narrative for that movie for me. Like the through line, no, it didn't work.
I mean,
I
I love
wanted to
it.
like it.
Yeah, I mean, I love this. The stories are powerful concept. I'm always kind of like behind that, but yeah, I
Oh, that
mean,
one. Did you watch that Jack Black and Kate Blanchett? Jack Black has just really been trying to get his Halloween classic.
no,
The
what is?
House with the Clock in the Walls. It's another
Oh no, I
Halloweeny
haven't seen that
with
one.
that one. It's okay too. If I don't know, maybe you'll like it. It's a little less zany and than Goosebumps was.
Honestly, what's weird is I would say of the like a lot of these like more stream. I guess that one wasn't sent to streaming. A lot
Yeah.
of the like newer ones. Strangely enough, hear me out. I
Uh-oh.
actually really like QB Halloween.
Oh.
I know, I know,
I mean, I
but
can't talk too much because I refuse to watch it. But
why?
Because
Listen,
if I
I
see
know
Adam
Happy
Sandler on the
Gilmore.
marquee, I run the other way as fast as
Yeah, I
possible.
understand. I understand. But hear me out. This one is actually really fun. And I think because the Halloween film, I have they have something to stick with. And also the character is like it's more old school. It's more old school Adam Sandler where he's playing a little bit of like a doofy character,
So
and
like
that's
90s.
fun. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, more like 90s. It feels a lot closer to like the 90s films, and there's like some really like Steve Buscemi's in it, and he's pretty great. Yeah, I mean,
I think I liked the first one. I think I didn't like the second one. I was like, all right, if we're just gonna throw out like guilty pleasure hot mess comedians that everyone hates, why don't I just say boo a Medea damn Halloween or something then ran to
did
like
you?
I mean that's why I was like, the second one is terrible.
But
Because he
the
made
first one
two
you
of them
liked.
damn things, but I think the first one was okay. Then no, that second one they brought in YouTube people as actors, and that's always don't do. If
I
you're a
think
social
that
media star, stay the hell away from my theater screen. Thank you.
I think Halloween gets a little bit more leeway on like quality level
No, it's
on the
true.
films if they are fun and very Halloweeny, right? Like Hubie Halloween takes place on Halloween. It's fun. There's like a little murder mystery thing going on.
It's a
I think it
weird
does a really good job of
thing.
capturing what was like that good about Happy Gilmore in the 90s. Like it's just the right I enjoyed it.
It's a
But
weird thing to think that horror, the genre that you would think would really try to always capitalize on Halloween, they don't really set a lot of horror films on Halloween itself. They kind of steer clear of the holiday.
no, yeah.
I mean, it's not we like I said, we have Halloween and Trick or Treat, which are like the two main Halloween horror
Yeah.
franchises. But outside of that, they just do it
Oh,
at any old
did you
time of
know
the year.
also, and I'm kind of a little sad that this is what happened. Halloween initially was supposed to be like an anthology. It was
Yeah.
supposed to be a different story on a different horror story on Halloween, which explains Halloween number 3,
Well, yes.
which I would never watch again, but is also like
Oh,
kind of
good.
incredible. That is
So I
actually,
don't
I
know
would
if
say,
you, I don't know. See, this is why I'm trying to get Ren to watch this new trilogy because she may have the complete opposite reaction to this last one that I did. I did not like it. I also do not like Halloween 3 Season of the Witch. I know, look, I know it has this real cult following. These people just champion it. I'm pretty sure because it's so like that shit crazy, like it just
yeah,
is completely
yeah,
different.
yeah.
Like it's not a
There's
Halloween
a
Michael Myers film at all.
Yeah, no,
Um,
it's batshit crazy and it's super weird and
it's very
it's like
weird.
bad, but it's in that right like sweet
And
spot
do
of
you watch?
bad.
Listen, do you watch Return to Oz at Halloween?
No, but I do
Oh,
love
okay.
Return to Oz.
I was like, I know you like that crazy, batshit
Yeah,
crazy,
I love batshit.
mildly
Come on, give it to me.
terrifying horror film.
Yeah.
Return to Oz.
Yep.
Like a full-on
But I
horror
also
film for
watch
a good
okay, but
part.
before we move too far, I also watch like accepted excellent films at Halloween, like Practical Magic.
Oh well,
Every year, Practical Magic and The Craft. Those are my
the
two like witchy
craft.
films I have to every single year.
How about can we just throw it to Disney Channel real quick and give a shout out to my jam, Halloween Town?
Halloween Town.
Yes.
Heck yes. That one's not good either, but it's great.
It's so fun and just
It's super
exactly
fun.
what you need. Debbie Reynolds killing it
Yes.
in this little
And this
Disney
that
Channel
it's
movie.
sits in that nice sweet spot of like fun and it's like spooky. It's got your little like skeletons and stuff. Yeah. Um so this is my like wild card one, my like
Uh-oh.
old fashioned Ren's a film nerd pick is I watch Arsenic and Old Lace every year too. Have you ever seen Arsenic and Old
I
Lace?
have not.
So Arson and Gold Lace is an old movie. It's based on a play, which is also my favorite play. It's a very
Oh,
farcy play. Basically, in the original version, the original play that was on Broadway, Boris Karloff, who, if you know anything about horror films, Boris Karloff was Frankenstein. He has also lots of other characters. He was Frankenstein. So in this movie, he plays the brother of the main character who shows back up, and his sidekick, he is Peter Lorre, who is like from Casablanca. He's the little like like Igor character, like classic. He's in this movie, and his little doctor friend has given him face surgery, and he looks like Frankenstein. So it's like kind of funny because it's Boris Karloff that keeps on getting made fun of because he looks like the guy who played Frankenstein, because he is the guy who played Frankenstein. So
Oh.
that's like the start there. Cary Grant is the main character. So it's Cary Grant at his Cary Grantiest, just like slaps, sticking it up, big facial expressions, falling over like chairs and things, while he figures out how to deal with the fact that his two little old lady aunts that have been poisoning old men without families with their elderberry wine and then burying them in the cellar, because their other nephew is thinks that he's Teddy Roosevelt. So he keeps digging the Panama Canal in the cellar. So they keep like putting the dead bodies in there and telling Teddy that they're malaria victims. And then they bury him all these dead bodies in the Panama Canal in the basement. It sounds ridiculous, and it is.
And it is. Thank you very much.
Which is why it is fantastic, and I highly recommend it to everyone. It's just really good fun. It is all black and white, so that is a turn off for some people. But
wow.
Every year it is, and it takes place like at Halloween. The movie does. I don't think the play is supposed to specifically take place at Halloween, but it's definitely got those Halloweeny vibes for sure. It's my wild card, old school Halloween.
How about like the Addams Family?
Oh yeah, I gotta do the Addams Family. I actually just recently watched the animated one, which was cute. I don't think I would watch that one every year, but
the second one a lot.
Yeah, the original one.
Yeah, the little the little the one I grew up on, of course, is the one I mean, you know, we love the
only one that anyone cares about.
Yeah, like I was like,
did you know?
Yes.
Sorry, can I tell you? Did you know? I was just reading Elvira's autobiography, and apparently Elvira's costume is based on Vampira's costume, who was the original horror host, and Vampira's costume is based on Morticia Adams's outfit from when the Addams was just a comic strip. Wow. Isn't that interesting?
That is
Elvira, down the line, directly from old school Morticia Adams.
Yes, Morticia girl. Just an icon always and forever, even from the days of the comic strip.
Yep.
we love Elvira, and we love Morticia too. All of them.
And I'm looking forward to the Wednesday Addams show. And I do, Catherine Zeta-Jones looks incredible. But Angelica Houston is just, you know,
the gargantuan
Morticia Addams.
Yeah. It's never gonna.
And Raul Julia, you know, it's really hard to try and top them.
Even our girl, oh God, I'm blanking on her name. Wednesday.
Christina Ricci.
Christina Ricci. I was like, God damn. Even our little Christina Ricci. She was just like such a spot on casting for a little at Wednesday back in the day.
Yeah, I wanted to be Wednesday when I was that age.
It was like, that is me.
That's me. I will be.
That's the problem. That's the like scary part. And I know they keep, you know, you always try to like sneak back in, but when there's an iteration, even if it's not the original iteration, when there's an iteration that just gets everything together perfectly, the casting is so spot on, the movie is fun and good. It's a hard ask to try to bring those characters back to life. And the Addams Family, it's up there with the best of them. I mean, they got everyone in the cast correct, and it's gonna be hard to ever top that. What was it, 90s? Was it 90, 91?
90s. I want to say like 94. Be my guess.
Oh, okay. Thanks for
Larry, I am weirdly good at predicting, at like just pulling it out of the air. So let's look it up. Wait. We gotta look it up now.
Okay.
91.
91.
You were a lot closer than I was.
Okay, well then.
It would have been really cool if I knew that. Right.
It's like, well, all of this built up for nothing. Great. All of this
got that part. Yes, I don't need to be embarrassed for not.
I mean, like, you make a film about Halloween people trying to figure out.
Probably the closest thing to not spooky at all.
It's almost like an action-y film, like because they have to take down something, but it's not scary.
Maybe like Double Toil and Trouble with the Olsen twins.
Okay.
I think if you're like really full on,
I mean, I guess
kids movie,
like Charlie Brown. That's
But
not scary at all.
even unless I'm even like double toil and trouble, that evil Cloris Leachman. I just rewatched this, just to be clear. I just rewatched this. I don't remember this movie. I, of course, as a 35-year-old woman, loved the Olsen twins
Yeah,
when they were in their peak. But so Cloris Leachman is the evil like witch character, which is kind of already makes the movie kind of amazing. Like
no,
she's just great. She plays like the evil sister and the good sister that's like trapped in a mirror. But that's like a little bit dark, right? She tries to like steal the children. So yeah, I think they always have to be a little bit spooky. I don't think they can
fully
be.
escape. How
Yeah,
about like just kind of Tim Burton? Do you
yeah, they can just.
consider Tim Burton filmed Halloween films like Frankenweenie or The Corpse Bride?
Yeah, but Course Red is still like spooky.
Yeah, no, that's why I'm so these are
Yeah,
they don't take place during Halloween.
yeah,
And they're not necessarily scary. They're just real gothic. Like the Corpse Bride is really
yes.
gothic
I think
feeling.
if you have like ghosts, zombies, werewolves, Frankensteins,
I was
vampires,
gonna say, or
basically, if you
another
have,
director,
yeah,
Guillermo.
if
Do you consider most of his films to fall under Halloween? So
Tim
like,
Burton.
no, Guillermo del Toro. So
Oh
like
yeah, man, that guy
Crimson
is like
Peak,
dark.
another just
Yeah,
kind of gothic
yeah.
horror-y. Or even Pan's
I don't know if I
Labyrinth.
would watch Pan's Labyrinth at Halloween, but I also don't know if I would ever watch Pan's Labyrinth again because
I feel like you need to make Patrick watch it.
I
I
don't know
know
if
he's
he's seen it.
scared, but
I've just the first time I watched it very, very stoned, and that's not the right state of mind to be in to watch that movie. No,
you saw that eye monster and you said, "What the heck?"
it was actually was the part
Oh,
where he murdered a man by smashing him in the face with a bottle over and over again. At
yeah.
that was the moment I went, "Oh no,
Oh,
this is
shit.
not this is not the fantastical adventure I was hoping it would be."
I thought this was more of a fantasy, like fairy tale.
Like
Not
the
this
labyrinth.
shit.
I was prepared for a little bit of darkness. I think
I was prepared for. Where's David Bowie?
not visceral. Like no, watch this murder happen for real.
Cool. Yeah. And then they were like, just one last little jab, like nice
Yeah, it's like
little.
almost up. I might watch it again. I'm a little traumatized by it, but it's kind of in the same place as like the Nightingale. Not as bad as the Nightingale. That I would never watch again. I
Oh
think
my
it's
god.
good to watch it once. I think you should
Yeah.
be prepared. I saw some people on Reddit were talking about the Nightingale is on Hulu and it auto played. Like they woke up and it was the middle of the Nightingale, and I was like,
Could you
no,
imagine if you woke up to the like scene, that
yeah,
scene, the definitive scene of
nope.
that damn movie, and that's where you opened your eyes?
I my response was I wasn't prepared to see that movie, and I was prepared to see that movie.
Yeah, that was we watched it together at the Alamo Draft House. That was a viewing experience for
Yeah,
sure.
that's not a fun,
We
joyful
were like,
Halloween
oh,
movie. Don't do it.
everyone.
No.
Our
So,
theater was
anyways,
dead silent. Let
Guillermo
me
del
just tell you
Toro,
that.
generally, all of his stuff kind of sits there. I don't know if Pinocchio. I think I like my Halloween stuff to be. I don't know. I've gotten a little more pickier about it as the years have gone on. I think it is at first it's just like a mood thing. I think mostly I want like a touch of horror, but like I think I mostly want horror comedy. Like overall, that's what I'm looking for.
How did
Like
we forget another family friendly icon? Casper.
Casper,
I love
with my
Casper.
favorite Bill Pullman.
I thought you were gonna say Devon C. Wahoo. Everybody just like lives for, but no, Bill Pullman, of course, of course.
Right? I'm sure he would be. When I told him that my favorite film of his was Spaceballs, he was like, "Oh, real film connoisseur." I'm sure he would have been delighted to hear me follow it up with. And then my second favorite is Casper.
We don't play with that Independence Day bullshit, sir. We
I mean, that's a classic. That's
it's a
not
classic
classic.
of
It's
its
like
own.
we did a whole
We did
podcast
it.
on
And
Patriot
his
films.
speech is iconic. No matter
Yes,
the rest of the film, his speech specifically is like the
yes.
definitive Fourth of July speech here
He is, according to some people, the only president of the United States they will
that we
recognize.
have ever had in the whole history of the country. The Casper is a delight, and that's not very scary. I mean, again,
No, not at all.
maybe you're a little scared as they like come, the other ghosts like come, but not. I mean, that one's a pretty tame. Just
Yeah.
anyone can watch Casper.
No, I would actually say the best Guillermo del Toro like Halloween film for me would be Crimson Peak. I think that one sits in the right sweet spot of like that gothic, spooky. It's got the ghosts, it's got
Yeah.
the intrigue, mystery. And it's got just that like that time period. I think there's something about like the Victorian time period that lends itself to like Halloween spookiness, right? It's like every like haunted house you see is like a Victorian house. So I think maybe
Mhm.
that's why that's what it feels like. Um
There's been
you
some. I
know
was
what's
like,
not actually? I would say The Shape of Water, absolutely not any
no.
sort of a Halloween
Or
film.
Pacific Rim, obviously. Like
Yeah.
that's like the outlier Guillermo. That's not really in the same tone, really, as most
Yeah.
of his other films in general. But yeah, Shape
Yeah,
of
I do
Water.
feel like some of these streaming. I okay, so I really appreciate that the streaming services now just like have a section that's like Halloween. Love that. I do think some of them are stretching a little bit on like what is Halloween, especially Disney Plus.
Well,
They're trying to tell me that James and the Giant Peach is a Halloween film, and I'm like, what? Because there's a spider. Come
because
on,
it's a little bit disturbing.
because it's yes, because it's Tim Burton esque, I
Because it's a
guess.
rhino a dark, like ominous rhino chasing them through
Yeah,
the world.
I would say James and the Giant Peach is not any more Halloween than like Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory. They're the same levels of
Yeah.
like dark, but it's Roald Dahl dark. It's not
Yeah, it's not.
Halloween dark. I remember
Anytime
it.
they wear masks, that's the thing. So the Purge series all takes place in the summer, so I don't consider them. It's like a Fourth of July movie,
Uh-huh.
really, because
Uh-huh.
of the social commentary. But
Okay.
then, like The Strangers, it gives me a very Halloween vibe. Like these people
Okay.
breaking into your house with these masks on, and it's just like a home invasion horror movie
Uh,
that gives very
Yeah.
Halloweeny
Okay.
type
I
of
could see that.
vibe.
I could see that.
How about like Blade for like a
Yeah,
superhero
vampires.
movie
I
for
think that
Halloween?
qualifies. Anything with vampires. I actually think it's not in every year, but it is in often the Buffy the Vampire Slayer movie. I like to watch that at Halloween.
Oh,
That's
you
just the
live for
right
that.
sweet
You
spot.
live for that campy Buffy the Vampire Slayer
Yes.
movie, Ren.
Yes. I live for it.
Duh.
That's what I want. I also okay, I think also any movies that are like horror movie commentary, right? Like I said, anything that sits in like that horror comedy
Yeah.
range, I consider like a Halloween movie. So like Dale and Tucker versus the Evil and Cabin in the Woods, those to me
Yeah.
feel like
How about like
Halloween
Evil Dead?
films. Say again.
Evil Dead
Evil
series.
Dead. Oh yeah. Yeah, I feel like yeah, those ones all kind of
Ooh.
like work for me
Ren, how do you feel
because
about that remake? Did you ever see it? The Evil Dead
no,
remake that
no,
happened in like 2013?
mm-mm. I've thought
That's
about
much
like
more straight up horror.
they already did a remake. Sorry, they remade it. Sam Raimi remade the first Evil Dead with when he made Evil Dead 2 and made it more scary. He already did that. just, just being honest here.
So you're not gonna pop Multiverse of Madness into your Halloween rotation, Ren?
I was actually thinking about that, and it might work if I wanted to. I mean, I think Werewolf at Night is a better Halloween Marvel
Yeah.
movie, but up until Werewolf at Night, that would have been the best were like Halloween movie.
Yeah.
But they're coming out with the Blade movie, so maybe that's going to be the next
Let's
like
hope it's good. They just had a big
Marvel Halloween
setback on
film.
that, the director leaving. So big setback on Blade, which I just want it to be good. Mahershala Ali deserves a damn good superhero movie.
I think it has to be good because the original is really good, and if
Yeah,
you can't live up to the original, why
again,
are you doing it? That's my
we want to talk
question.
about we have talked about it, but it fits this. We want to talk about opening iconic, like with some of the best opening comic book movie scenes of all time. Blade One, that damn blood rave is like one of the best and
So good.
coolest openings for a superhero movie, and it sets the tone
That was
perfect.
I also think original Blade was like it was such a like it exemplifies like a cool 90s
Yeah.
movie, right? Like it had that like house music. It was like cool 90s music or movie before the Matrix was a cool
Yeah,
90s
and
movie,
I mean,
right?
Look, Neo kind of copped Wesley Snipes' look, like the
Let's
trench
be
coat.
real.
He had the sunglasses on at night. Wesley did it first, Neo. Well, maybe not
Mm-hmm.
first, but or The Crow. Is The Crow a good
I
Halloween?
think that qualifies as a good Halloween movie. Yep, definitely. I
I
would watch
just
it if it was just like streaming there.
do you ever
You know,
have a
there's
problem
certain
watching
ones
it
that
though?
say again.
That's one of those films that I admittedly have a little bit of a hard time rewatching just because of the
You know,
tragedy in real life. Like
yeah.
some movies, you're like, ooh, I like the movie. It's just like, and
Mm-hmm.
it makes it more sad, more kind
Mm-hmm.
of dark, which the film is
Mm-hmm.
dark, but sometimes you're like, damn, I don't know, it's sad.
Yeah, that's right. I tend to want like a little bit more like fun in my Halloween movies. I think one of the other movies I've been watching regularly around Halloween, not every single year, but I've now watched them twice, are the babysitter movies
Oh
on
yeah.
Netflix. Those ones are perfect, I think, for like a Halloween movie. They're funny. They kind of make fun of the satanic ritual
God, I'm such a
trope.
snob. I really like every time we come on here, you just start talking because you've watched like all of the horror movies on streaming, and I just refuse. I just like sidestep them every time. I'm like, damn, I am such a streaming snob. I'm like, babysit it, please. No, thank you.
Give
What
them
was
to
it?
me.
What was that slasher series that they did like 70s, 80s, and
Oh,
90s?
Fear Street. Fear
Fear
Street's
Street.
really
I
good,
said no,
Larry.
thank
You should
you, and I pushed the
watch
Fear
them.
Street to the side and kept it pushed.
Make me watch stupid Goosebumps. No, I want to watch Fear Street, R.L. Stein. That's just really
I
good.
just
It's
bypassed right on by the Fear Street and kept it
I got
pushing.
my wisdom teeth out and I watched all of those movies like while I was like laying in bed and they were really really good.
Oh,
They're really
good.
well tied together. They're like
I mean, I heard they're
scary.
good,
Yeah,
but
they're good. You should watch them. I recommend them to everyone. Also, not really like a horror movie, but also on streaming. A Little Evil, I just think is just adorable and I highly recommend it. I don't think it got very much advertisement or play, but it's Adam Scott, and he is the recent. Oh no, I was about to say, oh, it's got your girl Kate Beckinsale. No, it's got her lookalike. Evangeline Lilly is the mom. Evangeline Lilly's the mom. Adam Scott is the like new stepdad, and her son, he's pretty sure is the spawn of the devil, and is like the Antichrist. And it's a horror comedy. It's
okay.
very sweet, actually. It ends up being like pretty adorable and like heartwarming. So I love that one as a Halloween movie. That it like because at the end of the day, Halloween is really it's kind of a kids holiday. So I kind of like the Halloween movies to have an
Well, that's why
element of
I mean, that's what we're talking about. That's why your company does so well at Halloween is because adults still want to participate. It's just harder for adults to participate or to find things to do, especially
yeah
once you're out of high school or college and
yeah
you're not just going house parties or whatever all the
yeah.
time every year.
And you
You're
don't
like,
really want to get like fucked up.
you're like just searching for something to do and you still want to wear a costume but you don't have anywhere
Yeah.
to wear it to, so adults are
Yes.
always like seeking
That's
out
our sweet
things to
spot.
do. Yeah.
The like late 20s, early 30s to 40s group that's like,
Yeah.
I want to do something for Halloween, but doesn't have something to do for Halloween and doesn't want to go get like their shit scared out of them at a haunted house.
Also, they don't want to like pay that price for like a 10-minute experience that,
Yeah. Although I
wait
will
in that
say
long
Denver
bus
has
line.
some really sick haunted houses. As a person who I worked at Universal Studios, so I've
Yeah.
been to the Halloween Horror Nights a bunch of times. Those are like great. They're
Yeah.
Universal
Great production
Studios.
value. Yeah.
Great production value. The fucking 13th floor in Denver is really well done. I will say not worth going to more than once. They don't change it that much from year to
Yeah.
year. It's about the same.
Just a
So
damn, I mean, I guess the same thing in Universal. I'm just like, it's just that damn line. That's part of the,
yeah, the
I will
lines are
say
long.
though,
Well, okay. So if you go to Halloween Horror Nights, what's really cool about that is that you don't have to wait in line super, super long because there's like a bunch of different haunted houses inside of the
oh,
park.
that's
So you
good.
pay to get in and then you wait
And
in a
then you
line to
go.
get into each of the things. But
But
it's not like the really long line you have to wait in to get into the 13th floor.
I will say part of the scariest part for me, probably scarier than like the actual haunted houses, because I don't get like too scared in there, is the line though, because part of it is like your mental really like psychs you
The
out. Like you
waiting.
start kind of
Yeah.
like getting nervous of like, oh my
Anticipation.
God. So it's like
Sorry.
you
The
walk in nerve.
anticipation.
Yes, Rocky Horror. We briefly mentioned it. Another
Yes.
great movie to watch around this time of year. My
Yeah.
girl
Weirdly
Kate
enough, I
Beckinsale,
actually
Underworld.
don't
That
watch
first
it
one
at
at least is
Halloween.
fun.
What is?
that first Underworld is fun for this time of year. If you're looking for
Sure.
like a
Yeah.
more
Yep.
actiony movie
Mm-hmm.
rather than a straight up horror or a family movie.
Yep. Yep. Yep.
Yeah, you know,
I would say American Werewolf in London. That's another like good one.
really fun. And which
Solid.
apparently people haven't watched these American Werewolf in London. Like they haven't watched that film of that was a revelation when this Marvel movie came out. And everyone's
Oh.
like, why? Watch it right after you watch Werewolf by Night, head your ass on over and watch American Werewolf in London.
Yeah,
What?
I can't remember. It's streaming on like Amazon Prime, so most people have access to watch it immediately.
Yeah,
Also, I'm
it's
not gonna
great.
lie, I loved American Werewolf in Paris. I don't think it's like I haven't
No, it's a
watched it more
lot of
than
fun.
once, but it was fun. Yeah.
Also, okay, here's my problem. I forgot to mention it. Tell me why. I mean, I know why, because what, but we got Thor booty. Um, why did Gael Garcia Bernal have them damn pants on the whole time? I thought we established this as a good werewolf trope that you lose them clothes, sir. You transformed back to a human and still was wearing them clothes. Gael, we know you're not adverse to nudity. We've seen your filmography.
Completely 100 aside, just because I haven't mentioned to you yet, if you want to see some full frontal male nudity from a star, you should check out Pam and Tommy on Hulu.
Oh,
That is some full on Sebastian Stan in your face constantly. If you're looking for a proud full frontal from a male, just throwing that out there.
it talks. Literally, it speaks in the film. In the
Yes, yes,
series,
it's
just
weird.
so you
It's
know.
like one weird scene. He's on drugs. It's fine.
You know, it's fun times. Good prosthetic work all around on both him and Lily James as well. I didn't realize that
Mhm.
those were prosthetics until after on
I
her.
imagine they had to be because she doesn't
She's
really.
not Pamela Anderson in that department, and but when you look at her, I mean, it is seamless. So again, the makeup
They
work, the
the
prosthetic
makeup
work
was
on that
incredible on
show,
that.
they even like
Yep.
gave her prosthetic teeth, and they did prosthetics around her face. You can't tell. Looking at her,
She looks, yeah,
she
she
looks
looks
natural. I mean, it's amazing.
incredibly
But
like Pam Anderson. It's
and that's a fun time. So yeah, horror, Halloween, family friendly. That's what's so fun about this holiday. I really feel like, of course, it is a chance to bring out like everybody, no matter what we say, everybody does like to dress up. They like to have some
Mhm.
fun, and it's a good time to just get into the spirit of things. And unless you're
Mhm.
like uber religious and still have this weird idea that it's like inviting the devil into your home or some shit. Um, there's a lot of fun to be had. Invite him in.
I'm just gonna scoff at you right now on our podcast. You're ridiculous.
You're ridiculous. You are a ridiculous person. Please see yourself out. But if you're just even if you're just people who I mean, I always think it's fun too when people just like dress up to hand out candy, like
Yeah.
to make it fun for kids that come to your door. Turn on any of these suggestions. If you're going to be home watching TV or whatever, waiting for kids to come to your door, might as well watch some freaking Halloween movies, right?
Yeah,
Like,
I
how
mean,
boring.
yeah, definitely
Otherwise,
toss something on, wear a costume. I will be wearing my costume. I guarantee a very small percentage of the children that come to my front door are going to know who the heck Leela is from Futurama. But maybe their parents will.
maybe their parents.
And my daughter is in a very very cute little nibbler costume, and it doesn't even matter.
Will you be holding her as you answer the
Yeah,
door?
obviously it's got to be a whole look. Patrick has an outfit too. We're
So
gonna
it's like
family right to the
all
door.
three of you have to answer the door.
Yes,
Hopefully, you
as a
get
team.
trick or treaters in your neighborhood.
Yes, I'm really excited. This is the first year that I'm actually gonna get like I like live in the suburbs now, so I'll actually get like trick or treaters. I think that's another reason why this year that we're not actually doing a show like specifically on Halloween is because I was like, man, you don't want to do a Halloween show. You want to be at home handing out candy.
Yeah,
No, really, it's because Halloween is on a Monday this year, and that just was like not. I just
everyone has to
it's
work
just
the
too
next
weird.
day. It's
We've done Halloween shows on Wednesdays before. We like finished, right? Did the Saturday, Sunday show, and then we did one more on Wednesday. We've done that before, and that's like feasible. Thursday's totally doable, but like,
Monday.
it also really sucks, honestly. Thursdays are the worst days for Halloween because then you can't really do a Friday and a Saturday show after that because for some weird reason,
They're
once
done.
October 3rd, November 1st hits, people are done with Halloween. Halloween is over. It's dead to them. This is why they've made a giant miscalculation on Wednesday Addams on the Wednesday show. Like people are just I still up on Halloween end of September through all of October, but then we roll over. It's Thanksgiving and then Christmas.
I mean, really, it's just Christmas. And Thanksgiving is kind of there in the background, but Mariah Carey pops out of the snow November 1st, ready to greet you.
So. Yeah, but I was at Walmart today and they were already clearing off of the shelves of all of the Halloween stuff, which is crazy. It's the 22nd. There's quite a few days left until Halloween. Patrick thought I was crazy when I was like, we got to get to the dollar store like as soon as they get the Halloween stuff out, like September, because he thought I was insane. I'm like, nah, man, if you wait until October, all the stuff is gone. Mm-hmm. People have picked it through and they don't refill. They're like, no, it's Christmas now.
Yeah, they've had that Christmas stuff up since like the beginning of October. At least like, Walmart just has it in like a different section across the aisle. Yeah. But yeah, the Halloween stuff is looking bare at this point. But
I think it's the most egregious in the craft stores is where I find it. Like I think the idea there is
them Christians at Hobby Lobby are ready for Christmas. They don't care about a Halloween. Ready. They are ready for the Lord's Day.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was like last weekend, all of their harvest fall stuff was like 50% off.
I know. This year I feel like there's been an uptick in weird like Thanksgiving decorations. I don't know. I mean, I feel like you usually see like the little cornucopia bull crap and all that, but nobody cares. Let's just be clear. I mean, really,
can I be expected to decorate my home?
After Halloween, my year of holidays is basically over and I'm ready to move along. Like, I don't give a crap about a Thanksgiving or a Christmas.
Ooh, no. I'm so excited. Halloween is just the start of every exciting holiday in my life. I get to Thanksgiving and then Christmas. Christmas is coming, Larry. And we can do a whole episode about all of the amazing Hallmark level Christmas films you hate.
Oh, Christmas movies. No, I'll talk about that. I'll talk about like Krampus and shit. That's what I'll be talking about on our Christmas
horror.
Yeah,
we could probably make that work.
Ooh, we have a new one. Have you seen that trailer, Ran, with David Harbour?
Oh my Santa God! Claus? Yes, I have. That looks maybe amazing. Also, maybe terrible.
I hope it's fun.
I hope
I'm really looking forward to it. Because that's a hard one. I will say that getting that tone just right for a horror Christmas movie, it's a tough one, and not many films do it right. So I'm hopeful because that trailer was really fun. So if the movie can capitalize,
I don't know if it's horror Christmas. I feel like it's like thriller Christmas. I mean, maybe
he's like impaling it's like people.
Taken. I wouldn't consider Taken a horror film either.
He's like brutally murdering these Santa Claus.
But he's the hero. He's horror the hero. If the person who's brutally murdering people is a villain.
I mean, I guess that's
right. Maybe it's an action film.
It's like
if he's brutally murdering people and he's the hero.
It's a gruesome Christmas movie. That is a better. It's not Krampus, where like Krampus is coming in to kill y'all.
I think it might say like it's like Die Hard. Maybe I think that's kind of the like vibe they're going for. Is like It's that it is actually basically Die Hard, except McClane is Santa.
But that'll be a fun one. And I don't know when the next time we'll be back. There are a lot of, we're coming up on award season. You know how we do with our award season coming up. Of course, there is stuff like Wakanda Forever. I just don't know the next time Ren will be in a movie theater with a very small baby.
It's pretty good. She sleeps a lot, but
so we'll see. But that's why this was fun because they decided to give us a lot of Halloween content that we could watch at home. And
the exciting thing about it being a mom in 2022, there's a lot of direct to streaming happening.
And as she said, Christmas is the season of television. All of the Christmas movies are just like straight to TV anymore. So, and the ones that go to theaters feel as though they probably should have just went straight onto streaming, but that's just my opinion. But
you're probably not the only one.
That was our review for Hocus Pocus 2 and Marvel's Werewolf by Night, as well as our
Mhm.
personal favorites, a lot of our suggestions and thoughts on general Halloween films. We really want to hear what do you all watch every single year when it
Yeah,
comes
let
to
us
Halloween?
know. What's your
Give
like
us
top
suggestions that
Halloween
we
film? I want
missed.
to know. I want to
Yeah.
like watch them.
Tell us
Because if
what we
you
need
look
to
up
watch.
Halloween films on like Google, like every single list is basically the same and they don't have good shit on there half of the time. So I want to know. Not one of those lists has arsenic and old lace on it. And that is a tragedy, in my opinion. So
Because nobody's seen
please
it,
tell me.
unfortunately, Ren. I'll have to seek it out. I don't
I
know
have
where
it
in
on
the
DVD.
world.
I'll
I
lend
was
it
gonna
to you.
say I don't know where in the world I can seek it out, but there we
I
go.
have it on DVD. I'll lend it to
Perfect.
you.
But let us know either on Twitter or if you are watching on YouTube, just down there in the comment section, obviously, or
Do it.
Instagram, all at Cinema Snarks. Ran, where can folks find you?
You can't find me anywhere. I am an enigma wrapped in a mystery. I'm on Twitter technically. Ren at Ren Manley, or you can find me on Instagram at RennyPoo13.
Or you can follow, obviously, Audacious Theater. This is getting posted with a week left before Halloween. So if
Woohoo!
you're in the Denver area, you have two more chances to catch the Audacious Halloween
Yeah,
show
go
for
do something fun
2022.
and spooky and not like shit your pants scary.
Get a little bit sinful this
It's called
year with
Project
Audacious,
Seven Sins.
which is a super fun.
AudaciousTheater.com.
Perfect. And then you can find me at Chili Boy YT on Twitter and Chili Boy Productions over on Instagram and on YouTube. Until the next time you hear from us once more, thank you for watching, and we'll see you then.
Bye.
Bye.